Hello everyone. You're about to hear a short summary of the film 1 Mile, Chapter 2. I'll leave a link to the first part in the description. Alex is studying at our school and trying to forget the recent horrific events when she was kidnapped by a strange cult to impregnate her. The stress she experienced is reflected in her paintings. Alex has a boyfriend who hopes to drag her on a date. Her parents constantly call their daughter to make sure she's okay. Denny recently left the army and a friend now suggests he join a private military company. Although the man liked staying at home, young people came to hang out at a nightclub. There, a student approached Alex and was about to kiss her, but the lovebirds were foiled. And then a taxi pulled up to take Alex to the airport. However, in the driver's seat sat Redneck, a resident of the island from which Alex recently escaped. In the morning, Wayaka received a call from Dixon, the leader of the cult. Danny didn't immediately realize who he was talking to. After all, he'd supposedly killed that scumbag, along with his son and a dozen other cultists. Danny hadn't reported the criminals to the police in all that time. He wasn't planning to now either. He'd go to that island alone and rescue his daughter. Danny knew where Redneck hunted young women hominin. That's where he was headed. In the morning, Alex woke up Lily. She'd been living here for a year. The girl had been kidnapped, impregnated by local handsome men. She'd already given birth to her first child. It
would be easier for everyone if you just accepted the situation.
My dad can get you out too.
I can't leave. My son is here. This is my home now.
Lily is broken. She doesn't even want to talk about her past life. Danny stopped by the lakeshore and began to watch the enemy through a spyglass. He'd killed many of them, but there was still much work ahead. Realizing he couldn't get to the island unnoticed, Danny approached the cultists and surrendered. The hunters zip-tied his hands and reported their catch to Dixon.
If he resisted, his family would have to pay. They
disarmed Nihin and led him to the boat.
So how do you guys work? You're brothers and cousins, both.
He had a pair of wire cutters up his sleeve. He removed the zip-tied hands and began attacking the rednecks. One was wounded by an arrow. He stabbed the second one to death, and the last one he strangled with a rope. We see a happy young father who hurt Lily's child, Nebkid. A year ago, she came to the lake with her boyfriend. Lily had hoped that the warrior could get her out of here, and at the same time, save this bungler, Susanna. Wayne constantly complains about how unhappy he is here. True, he never left the island. Dixon raised the alarm. All men were ordered to assemble at the dock. Deanna tied the wounded to the boat and headed toward the island. Lily was working in the garden as usual. When she slipped a note to the young captive, Alex immediately grabbed a fork. Then the girl screamed and called for help. She pretended to be in pain, but as soon as the guard entered the house, she stabbed him in the leg with the fork and ran for the hills. Dea hid behind the bodies, as their condition couldn't be seen from a distance. And when the boat approached the shore, he jumped into the lake. Only when the vessel crashed into the shore did Dixon realize he'd been tricked. That soldier was up to his old tricks again. Meanwhile, Alex was running through the forest, hoping to evade his pursuers. Returning to camp, Dixon learned that the girl had escaped.
Escaped? She was just a little girl. She stabbed me.
Another 2 inches and he would have been castrated.
Castration requires balls.
The old man saw the note and realized Alex was heading for the bay. Dee and I reached the cultist anchoring and began to survey the situation. They meant business here. Guards were everywhere. A searchlight was installed on the water tower. Dee didn't even know his daughter was on the other side of the island at the time. The leader ordered the hunters to return to repel a possible attack. Alex relaxed too soon. One of them finally spotted her meter. Dixon showed Lily her note. It was her way of warning the girl that her dad had already arrived on the island. Wayne stood up for his wife and promptly got punched in the face. Denny saw his tied-up daughter dragged back to the camp. Dixon ordered the girl taken to the detention center. Lily will also be punished. The main thing is that Brat Wayne doesn't let him down. Dixon's son was recently killed, and Wayne is his best friend's son, Anshan. The old man is going to hand over control of the island to him. In the isolation cell, Alex found a plank patch under the mattress. Meanwhile, Dixon gathered all the scene residents. The old man reminded them how well they had lived here until the evil of the outside world touched them. Because of the toxic waste there, women stopped bearing children. But 3 months ago, a miracle occurred. Lily gave birth to a baby. Now a killer has come from the outside world. This monster has already taken 11 of their island's good inhabitants. Yes, they kidnap young girls, but how else are they supposed to survive here in such extreme conditions? D&I managed to sneak into one of the buildings through a hole in the wall. In the barn, he climbed into a car and began dismantling it for parts. Alex spent the rest of the day ripping nails out of the boards while Danny returned to the forest. That night, the rednecks turned on the generator to illuminate the entire base. Danny, it seemed, finally decided to attack. He cobbled together some contraption out of spare cable parts and then snuck into the sawmill. There, a night scout damaged the floor in several places and disappeared back into the woods. His daughter had been picking at nails in the floor the entire time. It seemed the Yenny didn't realize Alex could be impregnated at literally any second. She was just then led into a small booth. DNI continued to roam the camp. The soldier distracted the sentry by breaking a branch and finally attacked him. The next islander was strangled in the bushes. DNA sprinkled him with grass and took the radio so he could always be aware of the enemy's plans. No, he just wanted to talk to Dixon. DNA demanded that they let his daughter go before anyone else died. Oh, it did. Then the soldier simply ran out into the clearing, making sure everyone saw him, and they chased him. The first victims were enveloped in fumes from the chimney. DNA hacked them to death with a shovel. Others turned on the lights, even though it was quite light, and were blown up. Dennis hadn't set off the bomb at night for nothing. Now he pulled off a real trick. He crawled into a hole, and when the men came after him, he popped out the other side and gave them a good beating. 2 more were wounded by saws when they tripped a tripwire. The next couple fell through the floor. Anyway, Denny was home alone in a stranger's house. Denny made it to the local punishment cell where his daughter was being held. A serious fighter was guarding her there.
I was waiting for you.
Instead of Alex, Lily was sitting inside with a bag over her head. She promised to help find the girl. Apparently, Dixon decided Danny was too easy prey, so he ordered his men to capture him alive, handing Angus a gun. Danny returned to the forest again without his daughter. He found out where Alex was being held and went back to camp. However, this time, Angus immediately took aim at him. Vyakov killed 15 locals, but he himself must not be killed under any circumstances. The prisoner was taken to the house where his daughter was being held. What's more, they were even locked together.
This is your last moment.
Denny immediately got rid of the zip ties, and his daughter showed him the board she'd been hammering away at for a whole day. She'd ripped out all the nails, and now they could come out. The relatives did just that. They returned to Lily and invited her to leave with them. But there was a catch. Lily couldn't leave without her child and without Wayne, too. Lily admitted that she was already pregnant when she arrived on the island. Wayne had only pretended to sleep with her the whole time. Denny was forced to return to camp for the 500th time. This time with his daughter, whom he'd worked so hard to rescue, he distracted the guards with his bicycle, and they immediately ran after him. The girls entered the house and asked the warrior for help. He would need to get the keys to the boat, and then they could all escape together. Meanwhile, Dixon found a hole in the half-full. Reasonable question.
Who is this genius who decided to leave them there together?
It was Wayne's idea.
Wayne?
Yes.
Danny waited for the girls in the forest, and they all headed to the bay together. Everything seemed to be going well, but suddenly Dixon contacted him. It turns out he had captured Demai's wife, Janine. No one explained how this happened. The woman lives in another state. Wayne searched for the keys to the boat for a long time. Then when he finally found them, he was caught red-handed. He was caught. DNI was trying to quickly come up with another plan. Alex helped, remembering that the boss had a serious arsenal of weapons hidden in a drawer. Dixon dragged Janine outside. The renegade Wayne was also brought here to the clearing.
Leaving. You leaving? I can't do this anymore. I've had enough.
Snenlessly. While all the locals were crowding outside, Alex returned to camp to get Dixon's rifle from the crate. His wife, however, caught her and ordered her to put the weapon down the scone. Wayne confronted his grandfather, saying it was not too late to do the right thing. Right? Yeah. Dennis came out into the clearing with his hands raised and declared Dixon had won. The old man was overjoyed. Now the local man would impregnate not only Deemy's daughter, but his wife as well. Dixon gave the soldier the final word. He launched into a speech about his family, how much he valued them, and how he shouldn't have been away at work all that time. And overall, he was beginning to understand Dixon, keeping family so close. So it was actually kind of cool. Deanie knelt, ready to take a bullet. But it was just a distraction. Alex blew Dixon's mind out with her rifle. The woman was the dead guy's grandmother, so she didn't stop Alex from taking down their leader. Apparently everything on the island rested on the shoulders of this old man because the family went home without any problems, taking Lily and her child with them.